What's up guys, Bob here with Backcountry Daily and welcome back to another Tacoma mods video. In today's video we're going to be talking about a Regear and a master rebuild kit. Her truck is a two-wheel drive pre-runner for those that are new to the channel. My lady has a 2006 Tacoma TRD Sport and she's been doing a few mods. And the next thing on the list is to unbox this Regear. We got it from East Coast Gear Supply and let's open it up and we'll talk about what's inside. She decided to go with 285/70/17, which is basically a 33-inch equivalent tire. And currently she's on 373 gears from the factory, and she's on 32s, which is like 265/70/17. So she's a little underpowered, and going up another tire size, we decided to do a Regear. But because she's automatic and because she's 5-speed and not 6-speed automatic, we decided to go with 456 gear ratio as opposed to 488. I hope we made the right choice. Using the gear calculator should put her up one notch above the factory gearing, basically, or factory gearing equivalent. With a 33-inch tire, she should be at 410. So with 456 is just one step above. So she's planning on hauling and towing things with that truck. So I believe going a little bit into the performance zone makes more sense. Well, so far the packaging is great. I've been dealing with this company when we were running the shop. We ordered tons of things from them in the past. As far as like the service and all that goes, they're great. There was a little misunderstanding while I was ordering these parts. I was under impression that she has a regular Tacoma rear axle, but in her 2006 Tacoma TRD Sport, she actually has the same axle, well, same diff as they put in a T100 or a Tundra, which is a 8.4. And because of that, there's no more adjusting rings. You have to use side shims or carrier shims, carrier bearing shims. The whole thing is just beefier and heavier, and it requires a different rebuild kit and a different gear set. So the ring gear actually has 12 bolts instead of 10 like the regular Tacoma axles do. So it's a beefier overall axle. It's a larger pinion in diameter and everything. I believe it's more splines too, which is a good thing. But as far as the Regear goes, it's just not going to be, it's going to be a little bit more difficult because I'm going to have to deal with those side shims. We went ahead and went with Nitro gears, and then we did a Yukon rebuild kit. For whatever reason, East Coast Gear Supply doesn't carry Nitro rebuild kits. Probably not cost effective or whatever. We ended up going with whatever they had. Let's just take a look and see. So the first thing we're going to look at is the gear set. Yeah, and like I said, these are 456, and because hers is a two-wheel drive, this is only for the rear axle. Now, I will be doing another in-depth video of how to do a Regear. It's not just going to be you can do it video, it's going to be a how-to step-by-step video. So stay tuned for that, because there's not many of those around on the net, if any at all. Okay, well, let's see. Nitro T1. See, it even says it on a gear set. It says T100 right there. So it's the same. It's the same thing as a T100. So it's, what is it? 456. Okay, so we got the right ratio. That's good. All right. Well, that looks good. I mean, all the teeth look good. Let's look at the pinion. Hopefully nothing's chipped. Oh, decent sized pinion head too. T100 Nitro 456 matching gear set. Well, there you guys have it. It's a beefy pinion, especially like right here where the bearing gets pressed on. You definitely don't want to be pressing that on and off too many times. The ring gear roughly looks like a Dana 44 ring gear in terms of like thickness and diameter. I've never done a Toyota axle Regear. I've only done Jeep. I've done a Dana 30, 8.8, 8.25. I was part of doing a Regear on like a Dana 44 and the rest of the Danas. Pretty much when we ran the shop, we've done every Regear on every single Jeep axle or Ford axle you can think of. We did the 9, we did the Chevy 14 bolt, I believe that the Ford 10.5 or whatever, 10.25, whatever the hell it is. Anyway, so that's the gear set. Pretty decent. Right here it says T100 456 NG 9x41 one set. let me get this out of the way. Honestly though, like, we used to sell a lot of G2 parts, and the packaging and just the presentation and everything on G2 blows Nitro out of the water. I mean, as far as the quality goes, I'm sure Nitro is probably better quality than G2 in terms of like the gears themselves. But who knows? I mean, we never had a single issue with any of the G2 sets. So here we go, T100 and Tacoma without locking differential. So she has a factory limited slip in that thing. 8.4 rear, master overhaul kit. That's the part number 14113. And it's Yukon. What's a little frustrating with the Yukon kit, and let me zoom in here. Let's see. So what's frustrating with the Yukon kit is that the shims they give you. Okay, so here we go. We got, I'm assuming these are going to be pinion depth shims. And so what I was getting at is, when you have adjusting rings, you just adjust the rings on the outside. That's how most Tacoma axles are, or Tacoma carriers, third member carriers are. So for the carrier bearing, you just adjust the rotating the rings. Now here, we're going to be using shims, and from the factory, the shims go on the outside of the carrier bearing, which makes sense. You don't have to press on and off the carrier bearing. Yukon decided, for whatever reason, to provide the carrier shims that go on the inside between the carrier bearing and the housing. And it's like, why would you do that? So every time you need to change your shims, you have to press on and off the carrier bearings, which makes absolutely no sense when they could have included the factory style shims like Toyota does and stick them on the outside. There's no shims here. Okay. Oh, okay, it looks like there's some under here. Okay, there we go. Yeah, so as you guys could see how big of a diameter these shims are. You know what? These might be pinion depth. Oh yeah, solid spacer. So here's a solid spacer. This thing's beefy. Such a nice piece. I love machined metal like that. Oh my god, I wish I knew how to do this and I had the equipment to do this. So cool. So this is solid spacer. We got the shims for that, which is awesome. So now I just have to figure out, I'm going to write down these part numbers and I'm going to call today and make some phone calls and figure out, and then I'll update the end of the video with exactly what these shims are for. Oh yeah, and they do provide 2 crush sleeves, which right here, which I'm not even going to bother using because solid spacer is just way better. So you get the gasket maker, the black silicone, red Loctite for your ring bolts, and then your compound and a brush. I ended up calling Yukon because I needed to make sense of this stuff. And they actually hid another set of shims inside of this guy, inside of the pinion seal. I never opened it, and the guy's like, hey, you sure? You should have 3 sets of shims. And I'm like, yeah, something wasn't adding up. I called him, and he said there's another set of shims somewhere else hidden in the kit. And I said, okay, well, I'm going to open everything. I opened this bearing, nothing, and then boom, I opened that. And this thing was full of shims. So it turns out, here's the deal. We have 2.59 inch is a carrier bearing shims, okay? And they unfortunately do go in between the housing and the carrier bearing. I'm going to have to press these on and off unless the factory Toyota shims that sit on the outside are actually going to work with a good pattern and a good backlash. We'll see. If not, I'm going to have to press them on and off and then put the carrier bearing shims on the in between the bearing and the carrier, which is unfortunate. Alright, so those are 2.598 inches, okay? The next size up is 2.635, and those are pinion depth inner. They sit literally between the pinion head. Let me get the pinion again. Here we go, we got the pinion here, boom, okay? So these guys will sit here. Alright, they match the bearing here, okay? So they get pressed on this way, okay? Then the race gets put on, and then these ones sit between the race and the housing. So you have another set there. So you have these ones and these ones. So they give you two different ones. And then you have another set of shims, which is these little ones. And those go between the solid spacer, on the other side of it. This side of it. They go on a solid spacer right there. And those set the preload on the pinion. That's pretty much what's going on. So the kit is complete. It does have everything. It's just, well, I wish these shims were on the outside. And I do have a part number for those. It was given to me, so what I can do is I can order those from Napa and have them on hand. That way I can reuse my factory Toyota shims for the carrier, then I have to press off the bearings. And then I can add and subtract if I have to using the shims from Napa that I now have part numbers for. It's good to have this tool, digital calipers or micrometers, whatever you guys want to call it. It's good to have something like this on hand when you're working with shims. It's really a necessity to have something like this. Otherwise, you can use a ruler or something, but when you start measuring the thickness, you definitely need these. Alright guys, well, that's all I have for this video. Stay tuned for the video that we're actually going to be installing this and re-gearing her truck. But the next video is going to be wheels and tires, and we have that scheduled in the next few days. So stay tuned for that. That's going to ultimately give the truck the biggest visual change, and I can't wait to see that. Thank you for watching. Hit that like and sub button if you enjoy the Tacoma content, and stay tuned for the next few videos. I'll be sure to include all the links for all the products in the description below, and we'll catch you guys in the next video. Take care.